Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hope everyone's doing well wherever you are, whenever you're listening to this. Um, today, today has been an interesting kind of piece that I'm picking up. I had just a couple of beautiful weekends of open communication, meaning that the people I was so fortunate enough to be connecting with and be communicating with are all on that um, and just say that ability to be able to be honest and open and really start to talk about some of our big pieces as being humans. And one of those big pieces we're going to be talking about today is our feelings. Our feelings have such a powerful influence on the way that we are handling our world from a moment to moment basis. And I really wanted to tune into that and just talk about it a little bit and then give some um, once again, I believe it is quite simple. The concept, though, I think can be mulled over and kind of brought into your own mindset, your own wherever you are. It'll be brought in however it needs to be brought in, and hopefully it can just start to shake things up. So when I say shake things up, it's kind of one of those pieces where if you're feeling stuck, overwhelmed, some of those emotions that can really stick with us, and that can be from a place of conflict right now, you're in it, or it can be a place of conflict from the past, and you're just having a really hard time overcoming it, or growing from it, or moving past it, or letting it go, whatever the case may be. And how you do that is really ultimately going to be up to you. However, the ability to start to shake it, to unlodge it from some of those places within us that are really holding us stuck, really holding us in it, in that kind of mind cycle, that that tough stuff. I think that's the piece that a lot of us, I'm not, and I know this, a lot of us have troubles shaking free from, and have the need, the want to do that, just maybe don't always have the tools or the support, or sometimes it's just that pure trust in the self, and it can be a combination of so many things. So to begin, we're just going to rub the hands a little bit, and today we are going to do a little bit of, I would say, placing the hands on the body. We're going to create some energetic flow, but we're also going to be kind of warming up the hands and then shaking them as well. So just literally getting your body, getting the feels to start to dislodge a little bit. So the first one that we're going to do is just take a deep breath as we inhale and exhale, activate the hands. And then we're going to start from the crown of the head. So you're just going to place your hands. It can be on the front, it can be on the side, it can even be on the back, and it can be all of those areas. I just want you to place your hands somewhere on the crown of the head and just create a little bit of it's a gentle squeeze. And anywhere that you need, it's a gentle squeeze. It can be forward, up, just in towards each other. And now once you've done that, then what I want you to do is just activate the hands and just start to shake. Shake it out this way, shake it out that way, whatever kind of shake feels right for you. Activate them and then just shake them out. And I might have time to go into why we do that, but if you can just trust, just activate and then shake. And just anywhere where you're also feeling any tension or tightness, it's a great opportunity to place the hands there. So today, just Feeling a little bit in my hip, and then shake it out. Okay, try that a couple more times, wherever feels right for you. All right. If you want to keep trying that or keep practicing that, feel free to do so. We're going to switch gears a little bit, and now I'd like to just open up the space. So open up the space to being able to communicate and talk about on a really deep, or hopefully deep, but a real level about our emotional stance and some truths that I've started to really recognize, and some truths that I think is a common pattern within the human psyche, and within that component, you know, our emotions have a tendency to be put on repeat, and those stories and those past behaviors and habits, they really do have a tendency to keep us locked within a cycle that may not be working for us anymore. And if you're locked in that cycle, sometimes it's a very challenging piece to literally see beyond that, to see something that might be slightly different. And so today we're going to kind of be working with our mindset a little bit, working on a little bit of visualization, but more than anything, just having a really genuine talk on again, if you agree or disagree, but having a talk on the emotional state and where you are on your emotional state, and how the environment that you're in, the people that you're choosing to be around, and you know, the food that you're putting into your body, the daily activities that you're doing for yourself or not doing for yourself. Again, this isn't about creating any type of judgment or like something like you got to change everything. It's really important, actually, especially when you're changing your emotional habits, to really look at things with such an understanding that our emotions, are even our low vibration emotions, are ultimately, they're doing something for us. Otherwise, we wouldn't be feeling them anymore. So there is a component that we, you know, suffering is a choice in a certain amount of words. There's an understanding that when our when our reality can feel like it's giving us a lot of heavy and a lot of suffering, we can choose to look at it in such, and we can choose to bring it on, the full force of that weight, into our hearts, and then hence into our emotional state, that then makes action plans and that makes action choices from that, you know, overwhelmed fear, that state of lower vibration, or just like just the ability for you to really open up and create some forward movement feels impossible to do. And I've been there 110 times, and I'll be there 1,000 more times. But it's interesting, the loop that we get in, our mindset and the emotional loop that we get tied into. So when all of a sudden, and I don't know if this happens to be true for any of you, but please, it's just an open expression, when we come into something that is very hard and it kind of stops us in our tracks. I talked about this a little bit last week. Its goal is to stop us in our tracks. That's its sole purpose. And the what happens when we get stopped in our tracks is we look around, we're trying to find out what did it. A lot of the time when we go into blame, when we go into, you know, looking around and trying to point the finger, so to speak, at anything that is outside of ourselves, it takes our power away. It takes the ability for us to be able to make conscious forward moving choices from that space, and then takes us into like almost creating and us pouring cement in and around our feet, in and around our surroundings. And my goodness, you could be pouring in cement for, metaphorically, hopefully, for days, just pouring that cement, and just everywhere you try to step is just creating you even into a more solid, stuck place. And no amount of books or even listening to people, you know, like no amount of friends saying it's okay, it's gonna be better, you know, like not as beautiful as all of that is and can be. When you're stuck and you're in it. And it's an interesting place, because the only thing you can do, I mean, there's lots of things that you can do, I shouldn't say it like that, to to become unstuck, you have to really broaden your perspective, broaden your scope of perception beyond where you have poured the cement. And I'm specifically saying you have poured that cement. So, yes, a life situation or something has come into your world and made you feel stuck. However, the more you keep looking beyond you and like making the inevitable excuses or feeling defeated or being stuck and staying stuck and choosing the emotions that will continue to replay that story in your mind over and over again, usually getting worse and worse and worse every time you replay it. um, it's the metaphorical or it's the metaphysical even way of pouring cement. So even when you do try to take some forward steps and you're doing some reading and you're feeling positive about the situation, you're still in the cement. You're still trying to plug through the cement, or again, you've piled that proverbial cement for so far that it takes some time. It takes, and depending on how much time, I do believe this, that you are giving yourself. If you are in it and you are stuck in it for a long period of time, maybe there's a reason for that. I don't know. I don't know the story, but at the same time, I do know that some of us humans tend to take or need some prolonged periods of time of being in some anguish to really learn the golden nuggets, to really learn the lessons. So hopefully we don't make those same mistakes again. I don't know about you, I can speak only for myself, but it is such an interesting component within my scope of my reality, my scope of my story, my world, is the true and utter understanding that if I have tried to push through something and kind of tried to, again, just the metaphor of cement seems to be sticking today, but trying to run through the cement as fast as I can just to get out of it without actually realizing that I needed to be in it and understand why I'm in it. And then days, weeks, years later, I'm in the same scenario and I'm wondering how I got here again. I'm wondering what did I do or how did I, and again, catching ourselves and just realizing like I'm looking outside of myself. I'm looking like, oh, okay, how did I hurt that person? Why are they doing this to me? The story goes on and on and on. And at the very root cause, it's because or one of the reasons, it's because I didn't really take the time I needed to really feel. And this is an important key understanding. Feel it, yes. Release it however I need to, through physical activity, through conversation, through true understanding of source. So, understanding of the situation from a source point of view, meaning, and again, each of us would have a different component of how to, but meaning when I'm thinking of the story, I'm choosing an emotion that is going to allow me to not go into the stuck place deeper. I'm thinking of a scenario, I'm thinking of a person, I'm thinking of a situation, whatever the case may be, or a past event, a past story, and this can go all the way back. But I'm thinking of that event and I'm choosing, okay, this happened. There's nothing I can do to go back necessarily. I can go back into my higher self, like I call it higher self spirit body. So I can go back into visualization and I can take care of that child of myself. And again, this is a whole other lesson in of itself, but I can have that availability to be that person that needs to be there at that stage and give that either child or teenager or young adult some guidance, some love. Most of the time, all we're needing is true understanding and needing someone to just be there with us. The sense of being alone is such a huge burden that we take on. It's not the truth. It's not really the truth. But when we're in the shit, when we're in the cement, it feels like our truth. And it feels like anyone who tries to come into that and tries to lift that, they can be coming from the most highest love, vibration, the most highest good for you, trying to help you. But if you're not ready to get out of it on your own, you're not ready. You won't get out of it. And that is meant to be empowering, but it can also go to the other side and feel lonely. It can feel like you're isolating self, isolating the people around you, and that is a choice. There's a lot to be said about choices. So being able to think of, and sometimes it's nice to think of an emotion that doesn't give you too much charge when you're practicing playing with this, but having an emotion around something that you know brings you down and being able to visualize it, and just again coming from a place not of yourself here now being in it again, but just coming from a place of an observer. So you're just ever so slightly bringing yourself away from the scenario and being able to look at the past and making sure you're in a meditative or in a higher vibration state before you go into this. And actually, maybe this is something that we'll practice tomorrow as well, because I know this will be like a 20-30 minute meditation and visualization. So stay tuned. I just decided that's what we're going to do tomorrow. So when we come into this, it's an important factor to be in a really loving, very, very calm, connected space to self, and to then invite. So it's an invitation with loving kindness of a scenario or a situation, something that is causing some real heart space ache, and inviting that forward with the understanding, okay, this is how it's made me feel, or this is how going through this story has left me in the past. How do I choose, or what is the opposite of that feeling? How do I choose to move forward from here? How, maybe if you've gotten to that space, how has it been helping me? Has it made me really resilient? Has it allowed me to realize, I can't just take all the time? Or has it made me realize what it feels like to lose, um, to be resourceful, to be creative? Has it shown me what it feels like just to be still for a while, because my body is not letting me get up and do the things that I feel I need to do? And be careful with that too. Yes, life is there. Yes, life needs to be lived. When we get stuck, when we get into a really solid place, and it just stops us in our tracks, sometimes that's exactly what it needs to be. And I've said this already, but I think I'll say it again. It's important. Make the time or make the space that you need to really not be in the low vibration, not be in the depression, not be in the anxiety, but just to give it space to really be like, okay, this is where I'm at right now. This is, goals forward of how I'm wanting to feel as I move through this. It's good to have emotions and know that you're in the emotion, but maybe right now you're just so sad, and that's okay. But maybe next you want to get a little bit angry. You want to create a little bit of charge. By the way, no, not by the way, period. Anger has actual, really important, really vital energy to it. And the reason I'm pausing and then I'm like really making this into a statement fact is how long it took me to begin to come to a space in my brain and in my allowance of my emotions, of what I was like allowed to feel and not allowed to feel for myself. I put this limit on myself, in this like heavy limit, of just observing, again, my story, observing a lot of anger at a very young stage in my life. It just became there was no positive that could come out of being angry, allowing anger, feeling angry, any of those emotions. And that can be a real, like, talk about a cement block. That can be a cement mile, is putting that type of belief system in your brain or in your heart. Anger, especially when we're in sadness, anger can be a catapult or a catalyst at the very least of being able to get that stuckness feeling going. And anything, even though it might not always be expressed in the most um, controllable way, it sometimes needs to kind of, with the understanding and hopefully having safe parameters of knowing where your emotional state is. But that explosion it just needs to come out. You need to express, you need to be able to create any type of movement to get out of that really stale, really darker place. And so being able to shift out of that, being able to pull yourself out of that, sometimes means getting that emotional charge in you and getting that anger to help you to whip things up, to move things, to start to look at things in a slightly different way, And of course, once you go through anger, you don't want to necessarily hold yourself there, because I have seen that. I have been with people that have lived that. That is their life. And yes, anger can, I suppose, in some way create the feeling or the understanding that you are not wrong or everybody else is wrong, but you are never wrong. I don't know. That is not something as much as I have started to understand anger and those typical emotional states can be very powerful for getting you out of something. Again, opinion, but in my opinion, it's not a place you want to be living, or it's not a place that you want to be staying in for very long. It creates so much detrimental inner and outer toxicity. Just it needs to move forward. It just needs to be the building block to get you through the situation so that you can start to come into a space of self compassion, usually, or self awareness. Take on the responsibility that you have had in the scenario, in the situation. That responsibility is, again, a beautiful step to understand you are not a victim. And if you can get out of anger, victimhood, if you can begin to shift the focus towards anything where you see and you can visualize yourself in the future in an emotional state that allows you to be something that you want. You really want to be in appreciation. You really want to see gratitude. You want to be thankful for the people, places, things in your life. Like that's something to maybe look forward to. It might not be where you are right now, and that's okay. That's very okay, because where you are right now is exactly where you need to be to learn something. There's something to be learned. There's something to be, you know, a rock to be lifted over. Maybe there's a lot of rocks to be turned over and get right down in it and observe. But I'm telling you, it's so important. Those emotions have the ability to spark, ignite, explode. It also has the ability to sometimes bring us into that little cocoon, that space that is where our mind, yes, gets a chance to just really be in it, but it also, that stillness, it gives also the heart the chance to sometimes, and the body, the physical body, to sometimes repair and become even more resourceful, more, appreciative of when we do start to make those forward steps out. Like, yeah, I remember where I was. That was really hard. I asked for help. So that was another big piece is, yes, anger can be part of it, but also asking for help, which can be such a hard, challenging thing to do, especially when you're in it. However, it is an action step. Anything where you're in a stale place and you choosing to get out of that stale place, there needs to be an action step, and that action step needs to come from a place of forward movement or helping. Ultimately, our metaphor is cement, so we're going to keep on going with cement. Ultimately, that cement is starting to dry, and if you don't ask for help, you are going to take maybe 2 steps forward, but you are going to be even more solid, not moving anywhere without someone's help. So being able to ask and reach out for help, and finding the person who isn't going to be pouring more cement on your scenario. So I'm just going to say it that way. You want to choose the hopefully the these beautiful people that I do know that are in our life, that are there for our, there are cheerleaders. They're there to help us to help ourselves. It's not doing the work for us that is counterproductive. And my friends, it's truly a place that I've been on all levels and all sides of. I've seen it from every single direction. And yes, even though at times it can feel like it's so great, I'm going to be able to help this person, I'm going to be able to lift them out of that cement, and we're going to get out of here. They need to get themselves out, and you need to get yourself out. That is part of the empowerment. That is part of the lessons. That is part of what allows you to not go back in that cement again, and not go in again, but get in even deeper next time. So really allow that to percolate for a second. There are certain beautiful souls in our lives, in our day to day, who want to help. Help is beautiful. That is supportive. That is a role that has, hopefully it's something that is shared, but it's also an important role and an important place to be when you are the helper, to make sure you're not taking on their world, taking on their emotions, taking on their scenario, their situation. You can still be 110% there for them, with them, from a heart-based place, and really helping them to just holding space sometimes can be so powerful without doing their work. And I'm going to say that in a slightly different way. So without forcing them beyond where they need to be at any one given moment, not keep making them bad for, okay, let's get you out of this, let's get you moving, let's get you da da da. It's okay to give people space to just be in it. And sometimes I think, especially in our scenarios that we're in, anything that makes someone outside of the scenario feel uncomfortable, you're now changing the scenario as being like, okay, you're in this. I can just hold space for you right now. Let's have tea. We don't even have to say anything. Let's just have tea. You know, Going from that accepting space to, okay, here we go. Let's get you out. Let's do this. Let's do this. That's like someone else making you an action plan. That can be coming from a very beautiful place. However, it can also be taking away your power. You need, and we each need to empower ourselves within the situations that we're in. The expansion, the opening of asking for help needs, and again, you can feel that out. Your heart center will guide you, if you trust it, to the right people that will just be able to hold space in a very neutral way without having to make you wrong in being where you are, because it is not wrong. It is needed, and forward movement is going to be a place that you are going to get to, and they are going to be in a supportive role to help you achieve without doing the work. So I hope that was a little bit clearer, because again, saying that you need help, but also saying make sure that you don't get the help that's going to be getting you even more stuck or making you feel bad about where you are. That's not productive. That's not the forward steps. And what's beautiful about it is, I think it's an important reality to understand. If you're in the caregiver, if you're in the role of just holding space for someone, the best thing as a person being in that scenario is just, it's not being right in it. It's sitting back and opening up space and truly asking, I'm here for you. I love you. Uh, how may I be of service? How may I open up the circle? Is there a way at this stage, or do you need me to just send you some love right now, give you a hug, have some tea, and then I'll just wait, or I'll check back in a few days. Like, begin to have a conversation where you're just, they know that you're there, and I think that's a powerful place for any human. It doesn't matter what stage or where you are in your life. When you can have deep connections, where you can feel comfortable with those friends or with those support crew, where it's not always about fixing anything, because you don't need to be fixed. I'm going to say that again. There is not a single person that needs fixing. Compassion, yes. We all need a little bit of compassion. Acceptance, yes, I think that's an important one, an important feature. The acceptance of self, and acceptance for where you are, acceptance for other people. That's a hard one for people, because if they feel uncomfortable because they see you in suffering, let's just say suffering is like a quote blanket word at the moment, but let's just say that's what's occurring. It makes them feel uncomfortable, and maybe it also reminds them of a time or a place where they also felt similar to how you're feeling. And so that's sparking their own story, that's sparking their own pieces, and they're doing you a disservice by kind of bringing their own stuff into an area that is you are needing space. So, like, that's a lot to unload, folks, but it's I feel like it's such an important time in our evolutionary state that we should be talking about this kind of stuff in a very open, very accepting, very gentle manner, not with a hardness that I tend to feel sometimes occurs, where yeah, there can be some heavier judgment, even though people are trying to help. You want to help. You want to be able to be in your own space without taking on their story, without taking on their pain, and just allowing them to be. And if you're in it, then making sure that you're choosing to surround yourself, or again, it's not a surrounding to bring that forward movement. Sometimes you just need a person that you know is just going to hold the space and not make you feel bad or not make you feel like you need to even be going lower. They're just opening the space and allowing you to empower yourself and allow you to express what your needs are in that moment. So I hope that created hopefully some clarity, but also maybe some conversation, something that you can have and converse with your friends, your people, or even if it just starts to percolate, you might not be, or you might be in a really great space right now. It's good to know in advance before you go into, our ebbs and flows, which we all have. There is not a single person out there who's just always up. That's a misconceived notion. We are all going to go through our ebbs and flows because we are all learning our own unique and very powerful lessons that help us throughout this entire lifetime. And this conversation, I think, is one that needs to just be coming up in our day-to-day life, in our daily conversation of, yeah, who do I have in my life at this present moment, who I could reach out to when and if, when it's going to happen, that can just really help to support me. And I also support them. There is that give and take free flow space. There's not a heaviness between it. The free flow state is very, it should feel good. It should feel good in your heart space. It should feel good and light in your mind when you think about the scenarios that occur. So that's just something, a little tidbit, a little bit of feedback. And honestly, it's also just such a you know, genuine space to be able to hold compassion for others, to be able to hold space for yourself, to give yourself self love in whatever way that is, whatever way is needed in the moment. There's power, and there's even action steps in that. Giving yourself the space to just be is there's power in that. So I did say that we were going to kind of do something that is going to help shake things up a little bit. So I do want to end off the last little bit of this video for today. And I'm just going to encourage anyone that's watching or tuning in, or if you're rewatching and just kind of tuning in, we're just going to allow ourselves to, first of all, create a visual of where our emotions, what our intention is. So we want to choose a theme for the day, an emotional state. If you want to be, you're feeling really solid and you want to just be that bright light today, what does a bright light mean to you? What does what word comes to mind when you think of bright light? If you're maybe in it a little bit and you're needing to ask for help today, bring to your mind's eye, and actually this could be for every person, bring to your mind's eye, who would be my ultimate person to reach out to? Who would be the person just to say hi to, or just to say, hey, I need this today, and is there any way that that's possible to receive? Or another way of maybe expressing it too is opening up the conversation of simplicity. I find works. Hello, nice to, I'm really looking forward to hanging out with you at some point, but is it okay if we just get on a 5-minute conversation today? Like state what you need. Or, maybe sometime this week I'd really like to go out for, grab a tea and go out for a walk or a hike. I just need to get outside. These are pieces that I believe, everyone's got lives and the ebbs and flows of that as well, but there's beautiful people that will be able to reach out and say, sure, let's make that happen, especially when you are able to express that you're in something right now and you really are needing that. So don't be scared to be a little bit upfront about where you're at. That will actually also help both people. So there's not misunderstanding, true, beautiful communication, and also so that the person who's needing something is truly getting what they need without feeling guilt or any of those other emotions. So back to space and time, I want you to just visualize what the theme is for today. So if you're in it, maybe just like getting some words out on a piece of paper, just blah, mind dumping everything that's in your mind right now, your emotional state. So that could be an action piece, and that could be getting angry on paper. That could just be writing it all down. Maybe you're going to burn it, maybe you're going to rip it up later, but just whatever you need to do. If you need to start to shift out of whatever emotional state you're in, again, anger is a powerful and really beautiful way of doing that. And again, you can do it in a way that's not hurting yourself, not hurting others. It's just, going out for a run, going out in the middle of nowhere, and sometimes being in nature is another really great way to defuse anything that needs to be let go of. Um, Reaching out for help is another one. These are pieces, but ultimately I want you to choose a theme of, okay, throughout the day, I choose to bring in some type of emotion that's going to help me to manifest or to help me to transform wherever I'm in this moment. And if I'm waking up feeling really vibrant, really amazing, beautiful, I want to kind of keep on holding on to that. But how? Like, what is it to just be energetic all day long is beautiful. That's a great concept and a great piece. We're also human, though. We have our limits. So to have more of an understanding where, yes, I want to be energetic and I want to be able to interact with people in a very authentic, very loving, compassionate way for myself and for others. Or maybe you want to just really articulate yourself well today. So you're going to actually take a pause, bring your energy down, and you're just going to be very mindful of every word that comes out of your mouth. So it's just it's a way of creating and painting the picture of how you want yourself to present yourself today, because each emotion carries with it a unique persona as well. And we have so much ability. Again, being human has so many beautiful pieces depending on what emotion we're choosing to put on. It does change how we are presented to the world, how we're presenting, and also just changes how we're feeling within the dynamics and the flow of the world. So how are we choosing? You get to make that choice, and I want you just to kind of bring it into your mind first, but then we're going to visualize it, and we're going to actually do a little bit of breathing that's going to bring it into our throat and into our heart space. So it's a little bit of a clearing breath. It's just an inhale through the nose. Your tongue is going to be kind of ever so slightly pushed forward towards the front of your mouth. And you're going to actually inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth, but making sure that your tongue is pushing towards the front. A lot of the time there's a little bit of disconnect there. And we want to have a free flowing state of air as we breathe into this feeling, as we breathe into this state that we're hoping to cultivate. So as you work on this, play with this, you can choose to, actually, no, I'm going to pause that there. I'm going to put a little pin in it. I'll put that in for tomorrow. So wherever you are, getting comfortable breathing into the nose, and it's out through the mouth, but really paying attention to where your tongue placement is in your mouth. Having it not pushing, but having it ever so slightly forward, so there's no resistance at the back of that throat when that air is coming in and when that air is going out. Just practice that. While at the same time drawing in and feeling, again, visualizing what emotional state you want to be bringing forward in your day-to-day activities today. And that emotion, it can have a story to it, or that emotion can just be the emotion. But ultimately, it's empowering to know that you get to choose how you're feeling right now. And if you're in it right now, don't choose to be in joy. That's too much of a leap. You can choose to be in self-love, which might mean that you just need to be in your bed today. Self-compassion, that's a beautiful emotion that wherever you are, you just accept it. There's no trying to change anything. That's a beautiful emotion. So finding what works and what feels right. Nobody can tell you what that is other than yourself. Keep the breathing going into the nose and out to the mouth in a gentle kind of sigh, but it's just allowing, it's a releasing of such. You're bringing in the emotion that you're choosing. You're beginning to fill that throat, that heart space. And then as you exhale, it's just a super important layer of allowing. So inhale, bringing it in. And on the exhale, it's just almost a sinking in, like you're putting on that wardrobe of emotion in and around your body, in and around your energetic fields, into and allowing it to infuse itself into your heart space, allowing your voice and your throat to bring it down, because it does. It's truly coming in through the oxygen and in through that air, and it's manifesting itself into what we need it to be by the time it gets to our heart space. So trying and playing with that a little bit. Just going to take another minute here. And you want to kind of, it doesn't have to be for very long. As soon as you make that impact, as soon as you make that intention, it's fascinating. Every time I do it, it's fascinating. It's beautiful how much that can begin to come into, your root, your core, and it starts to shake up a little bit of your belief system. Our belief systems at times can really hold us in a lot of pain, and it can hold us in a story for much longer than we need to be in that story for. That allowance, that choosing of an emotion, even if it's for an hour, even if it's for the day, don't have any hardship on how long you're holding this for, but you are choosing it right now in this moment. And it has a lot of power to that. That power, empowerment, has a lot of, there's a lot of depths to where you can take that. So keep practicing, keep working on this right now if you have the time and space. Otherwise, play with it throughout the day and see if you can, again, have a theme or have an emotion that you want to keep on bringing up. And every time that it ebbs and flows away, because it will, you have the choice to then bring it back in. And it just takes a minute or two of intention, takes a minute or two of this gentle, allowing breath, and it'll be there for you. That emotion is there for you. So thank you very much. Hope everyone enjoys wherever and whatever you're doing and enjoys the chat. And have a great day.